Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Will Wallace. These are my co-hosts, Kate and Calissa.
Hi.
Hi. It's great to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
After so many emails and talking about HowlerCon, it's good that we are all finally putting faces to names and all that. So we're not all bumbling around for introductions when we meet in a couple of months. So it's gonna be good.
Exactly. Well, and it will be crazy hectic that weekend too. So probably not a good time to meet me, especially.
I understand completely. So all right. Well, shall we dive in?
Sure. Let's go.
Right. Absolutely.
Have you been part of any other fandoms besides Teen Wolf?
So probably Harry Potter would be the big one. I am an admin for Tom Felton's official fan site.
Oh, wow.
And so I've worked with
That's
him
cool.
for a lot of years, a dozen, 12, something like that, 12, 13.
Wow, that's exciting.
And so I've gotten to do a lot of really, really cool things through that fandom because of that. So,
Very nice.
yeah.
It's fantastic.
Right. Yeah, that's so awesome. That's so
It
cool.
really is.
So, what was the first convention you ever went to?
My first convention was Dragon Con in 2009. And I don't know, have any of you ever been to Dragon Con?
No.
Fortunately, no.
Yeah. I have friends who go. Yeah.
It's madness. And so, I mean, it's even in 2009, it was probably 85,000 people. And so it was quite an adventure to be thrown into for the first time, but I loved every second of it. And we went for probably a good 7 years after that. Just every year we had to be there because it was just so much fun.
Nice. Very nice. That's in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. No, I have a friend of mine, Melissa Scott, who's been to it a couple times, and she posts on her Instagram and Facebook and all that. I'm like, this always looks like so much fun. But
it is. I would say that Dragon Con is one that is more cosplay. There's a lot more cosplay at Dragon Con than there are at, say, like New York Comic Con or a Mega Con,
okay.
And especially San Diego Comic Con. I feel like it's not like that. But at Dragon Con, we did not dress up the first year, and we felt out of place not being dressed up.
Oh, wow.
And so, but there's a lot of people watching, and it's always Labor Day weekend in Atlanta, where they usually have the college football Chick-fil-A opening day weekend. And then there's always something else going on. So it's just this really cool, eclectic group of people that you would never normally picture together in the same place. I mean, you've got these college football fans and they're just screaming at the parade where the Dragon Con parade that's going down the middle of the street. And so it's very strange to see, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome. That sounds great. I'd love to dress up at one of those things just because I don't want to be shamed in front of the Klingons and Pokemon walking around. So yeah.
You see, some people begin the very next week after Dragon Con doing their costumes for the next one, and they spend hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars on these costumes that are just amazing. And so, yeah, the people watching is prime. If you ever get a chance to go, don't pass up the opportunity. It's so fun.
All right. Well, so speaking of great fandoms and intense fandoms, how did Teen Wolf come into your life?
I started watching Teen Wolf, I think, before the second season, but it might be the third because it's been a few years now. And I didn't watch the first season, and I'm not really even sure why. But I started watching it, and I just loved it. So I mean, it became very quick after that, and then I met Melissa Ponzio not terribly long after. I started watching it. I talked to her on Twitter a few times, and then we met in person, and we kind of got on like a house on fire. And
Nice.
we found out at the very first event, her daughter Jessie and I are sorority sisters. And so,
Okay.
it was just this weird, like, oh my gosh, this should have happened. And so Yeah, that's how I got into the fandom. I think Amy has watched it from day one. Like she's been hardcore right there from the day one. But I was a little late to the party, but I'm also a little older than most fans of the show too. So
That's okay.
well,
That's fine. So nice.
People of all ages who love it.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
Who is your favorite Teen Wolf character?
Oh, I don't know that it's fair to ask about one. Um, I mean, I love Styles. Who doesn't? And Amy will die on the Allison ship, like the Allison Hill forever. Allison is hands down Amy's favorite. But I think my favorite is probably Melissa McCall. I love that I feel like she's the heart of the show. I
Mhm.
feel like, she's this amazing, hardworking, single mother. And we actually see this parent getting to do things. We watch her struggle paying the bills. We watch her struggle, to be this really crazy nurse trying to deal with the oath that she took to do, to be a nurse and then try to cover up her son who she loves and everything. And I love that we get to see that little glimpse into her dating world and and even her past with her ex-husband. And I think that she's the heart of this show. I just love her. And it absolutely helps that Melissa is just a most stellar human being.
Oh, she's so lovely.
Yes, she is.
She
Yeah.
is amazing. So that helps.
Definitely. So how did HowlerCon come into existence?
So, um, so I'd been to several conventions before, and I'd even been to a couple of small ones, and I wanted to do a Teen Wolf convention just for Teen Wolf, because I have a stupid planning gene, um, but I wanted to do one in Atlanta,
Mhm.
and because I lived in Georgia at the time. I'm in the South. And so I wanted to do one, but I was super busy at the time and couldn't work it into a schedule. And then Amy was having the same kind of feelings at the same time that she wanted to plan something in the Northeast where she is. Um, and so when we finally met in person and we kind of started being friends, she mentioned that she wanted to do a con. And so I said, well, I'd already done some legwork on how to start one. If you want any help, let me know. And so about the third email that was as long as my arm, she said, would you like to just partner with this? And so it just really worked out for us that, that's how we both kind of wanted one. And then we went from there. And so it was quite an experience the first year getting it off the ground and going. But after that, it's gone really well. So.
That's amazing. I cannot fathom all of the things that have to go into something like that. I
Same.
no, I mean my daily planner is enough for me. Like by the end of that, I'm like, whoo, this was rough, So I can't even imagine the logistics of a convention with people and celebrities and just, oh my God, my hat is off to you for this.
Thank you. It is, it's a lot of organization. There are so many moving parts. And I think we get a lot, not lately because we've had COVID and all, but before when we did 4 years, we used to get a lot of emails where people would say, hey, I want to have a convention in my town. Can you tell us how you did it? Or can you tell us what to do? And our honest opinion was every time was like, don't, don't call a convention company or email a convention company in your area and tell them to bring Teen Wolf to these conventions. It is especially, well, for one, because I have a full-time job and do this in addition. And Amy is a mother and works a job. And so every bit of this we did in our spare time. But there's so much before you can even announce that you want to do a convention. You've got to get a business license and you've got to register with the federal government and the state, and you've got to get insurance and you have to hire an attorney to figure out policies. And, I mean, you've got to open bank accounts and you have to have all this legal stuff before you can even say, hey, we want to have a convention. And we used Indiegogo for the first 2 years, which is very helpful. But if you don't have an investor, everything is coming straight from ticket sales, which is what all of our events are. And it makes it, I mean, you're doing a budget where you're like, well, I think we can have this many people buy tickets, and it's all a crapshoot at that point. And then you get to that point where you're selling tickets, and then you have to negotiate with actors and their management, which is so tedious. It is. I mean, it's a 2-month process usually. I mean, my most recent one, it took me 7 weeks from the time that I notified them and said, hey, we'd like to have your client, to the day we got to announce them. So, I mean, 2 months. And that one was relatively easy. There wasn't a lot of going back and forth. Some of them take months. And there's just so much a part of their contracts that I feel like the general public doesn't realize that they have, that we have to take care of on their side of things. And I mean, it's a give and take, because their management obviously wants to get the best deal for them. They want to get them all that they can. And on our side, we're trying to get them for as little as we can. And so it's quite a tedious step before we even get to the logistics of on site, the schedule and all the moving parts on site. So yeah, it's not an easy undertaking. For us, it worked out really well. Thankfully, Amy and I have very complementary strengths. She is very good at the graphics, and she's very creative, and she's good with the fans, and she does all of our banners and our books and all the website and social media stuff, and giveaways and things. And I am very much here's the contracts, here's the finances, here's the schedule, here's the policies. I'm more of the business side of it, while she's the creative side. And so we work really well in tandem together to get it done, which is super helpful.
Having a great partner is important.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, just thinking about all the details that would have to be worked out for something like that. I've done a little bit of event planning on a really small scale, and the idea of doing that on a scale that large is so tremendously daunting to me. I can't imagine that kind of undertaking, really. So kudos.
I will say that. Thank you. I mean, I love it, planning. If I could just plan conventions for a living, I'd be completely happy. But it is a lot. I mean, you have to be super organized. I have so many spreadsheets. Excel is my best friend. And so that helps a lot that I'm that way anyway. I also came into this with quite a bit of event planning experience. Not necessarily in conventions, but at least with planning events for 300-400 people, which helped a lot. But even then, our convention is very small comparatively. I mean, we usually, our first year we had about 280, I think, and then at One Last Howler we did in 2017 we had 650, I believe.
Nice.
And so, I mean, mine are still very small comparatively, but yeah, it is quite the undertaking.
I think it's incredibly impressive. I've known some fan run conventions. I mean, you guys this is your 5th convention for HowlerCon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of, unfortunately, the fan run ones, while being super fun, haven't made it past the 2nd year, just because of it is so much to do.
It is. And I mean, the biggest issue, and what's always I would say the most stressful part for me, is the finance part of it, because we don't have investors. We don't, this year we have a great sponsor. Yay. But we don't normally have sponsors or investors. And so it is straight up, all of this is done off of ticket sales. And, we have to sign so many contracts ahead of time. And then there's no caveat that if the con doesn't make its money, that we don't have to pay you. And so it is, I will be honest, the first year we lost our butts. We lost quite a bit we were in the hole quite a bit the first year. And so thankfully the second year and the third year, and then again one last howler, we did really well. And the events sold out, and we knew a little bit more about what we could expect and how much we could spend. And so we have been able to break even every year other than that. But it's the finance part. When you think about how much that you are, I could lose my home. I could lose everything I have, because if this conventions go south, I do have an LLC, which helps me and protects us. But yeah, it's super scary when you're like, oh gosh, how are we going to pay this, $30,000 bill to the hotel? How are we going to pay this guest their fee? So that part, I would say, is the most nerve-wracking to me, is not knowing, are we going to make it? Are we not? Am I going to be paying on this con till I'm 75?
Oh, yeah,
God.
I can imagine.
So yeah, that part is scary.
You have nerves of steel, ma'am.
You say that. My friends say that I'm just a glutton for punishment.
My God. After that,
My
if that
friends
had
are
been
like,
me
"You're
after that
doing
first
what?"
year, I would have just disappeared. Like, what happened to
When
Will? I don't know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. He just evaporated right through the walls.
When there was a point in the first event that I was in the green room with Lyndon and Orny and Melissa, and Lyndon and Orny, they were late. They were on the couch, and Lyndon, he was like, "This is going really well, right?" And the con itself went extremely well. I couldn't have asked for it to be better that way, but I was still, I knew at that point we were not going to make our money. And so I was like, yeah, and I do not have a poker face. What I am thinking, it's here on my face. And I'm trying so hard not to, it's not their fault that our con's not making money. And Orny was like, why, you don't think it's going well? And I was like, no, it's going well. And Lyndon just got this frown on his face. And he goes, what's going on? And I said, we're just, it's fine. And he said, you're not going to make your money? And I said, no, we're not. And he looked at Melissa and he said, did you know that? And Melissa, she's like, it's all right. Don't worry. We're going to take care of it. It's fine. But they were so concerned. And then we had our charity auction, and then they all three and a couple of the other guests donated their time for things to be auctioned off in the auction. That helped us a little bit with some of the money. And I ran out of the auction, and ran to the back part of the hotel, into the back area. And I was leaned over, like hands on my knees, just everything from the weekend had just come out, and I am just sobbing uncontrollably. And all of a sudden, the director of catering for the hotel that's been helping us all weekend, he comes running out of his office, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm fine. I swear I'm fine, because I am just absolutely losing it behind near his office, and and why we decided to do another one after that, I'm really not sure. But it worked out really well. The second one made its money and what we lost the first year. So it wasn't completely dire, but it is scary.
Yeah. That is a lot of investment of time, money, energy, stress.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
What is it about Teen Wolf in particular that inspired your fandom so much that you were willing to put so much of yourself into it?
Stupidity. No, no, I'm kidding. Honestly, I feel like these characters are very relatable. They, especially in the beginning, I feel like, yes, there was the supernatural aspect that the rest of us don't have, but all of the other issues that they were going through, the awkwardness, the loneliness, the alcoholism, the losing a parent, or the divorce, and struggling to pay your bills, and all those things are things that that's what we deal with on a regular basis anyway. I felt like it was very real life in those issues, fitting in. And I feel like that's why I feel like this show kept going like it did, because it didn't it's more than just a supernatural show to me.
Mhm.
And when Amy and I decided to do Howler, we had two goals in mind. And one of them we knew we wanted to do was that we wanted our conventions to have a charitable aspect. And our fans, through charity auctions at our events, we've raised over $50,000 for charity.
Fantastic.
Oh,
And which is amazing. And then the other aspect was that we wanted it to be a safe space. And we wanted anyone in the fandom to be able to come and spend their weekend. And no matter what, we wanted them to be comfortable to be who they wanted to be in that moment. And I feel like that we've been able to do that. And I think that's because Teen Wolf attracted all of the people who were already questioning what was going on in their lives and who they were and what they wanted to be and how they wanted to be. And I think that helped. And that's why I really enjoyed the show.
It's very admirable.
Oh.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Are you excited about the new Teen Wolf movie?
Yes. So I'm actually really excited. One, I love the fact that all of the guests that we know are back together, and they get to. We've been able to see them in those moments off stage and off camera when they're together, and it's so fun that they're this cute little family. And so I love that they're being able to work together again. But I'm invested. I want to know where these characters are years down the road. I want to know what happened and who got married and who had kids. And I want to know who Melissa McCall's love interest is, because they better have her one.
She deserves love.
She does.
I mean, I don't care
She
who
does.
it is.
Well, take note,
should
you will be held
the sheriff.
personally responsible for this.
Wow.
Right?
Oh my God.
I mean, it needs to be the sheriff. I'm sorry. And Sheriff John Stilinski, because he's still a
Will, are you
Oh, yeah.
taking notes?
Yes,
Are you taking notes?
Absolutely.
I don't know if y'all know this, but the movie's being made right now. Like
I know.
We have tried to explain these things to him, like about the name John and the fact that his
I'm
name
right
is
there
John.
with ya. I've never fought you on this. I don't know why you.
Which one of y'all? I tweeted about somebody on I think it was the Howler account, wrote that they didn't want to see Melissa and the sheriff together. And she was like, I just hope it's not Noah Stilinski. And I legitimately was like, who is Noah Stilinski?
We do that a lot. Yeah. And yeah, I think I
He's John.
included that. Yeah. Like,
We do
His
it
name is
constantly
John.
on the
Be
pod.
John.
It's a problem.
yeah.
And I just, yeah. So his name is John. I mean, and I don't care if she's with Sheriff. I would love to see her with Sheriff, but I'm okay with Chris Argent, because J.R. Bourne, there is no problem with J.R. Bourne.
That is so true.
No problem whatsoever. But I just, she deserves love. I mean, come on, let's find her somebody. I don't
Mhm.
care who it is.
Agreed.
There's someone to treat her right.
Right.
That's right. If you could be any Teen Wolf creature, what would you be?
I mean, I feel like that a werewolf would be really cool. You got I think the advanced healing, the super reflexes, the sharper senses, all of that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
I feel
Mhm.
like. But you're running from hunters all the time. And I feel like you got to get in a lot of fights. And I'm just not very fighty kind of person. I like to use my words rather than my fists. And so,
Cutting remarks.
Yes.
That's what you go
Yes.
for.
and so, yes. So I feel like that because of that, I would rather be a spark or an emissary or some sort of witchy person that I could, that I could just put a hex on you rather than slash you up with my claws.
Nice.
like that.
I also feel like
That's
they can
fair.
hide easier. You know what I mean? Like we didn't know
Mhm.
Deaton was an emissary until way into it.
It's
That's true.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, love for Melissa McCall aside, what else would you like to see in the new movie?
well, I mean, I think that the burning question is who is Eli Hale's mother, right? Or other parent. I mean, I want to know where this kid came from. I mean, I do have headcanon about where this kid came from. It's pretty funny.
Can we hear it?
But
Go on.
yeah. So, so my headcanon is that Derek wanted a kid, but he's got all these issues with women that he just really cannot get it straight. And so he gets an egg from Cora and he goes to a random sperm bank for the donation for the dad. And then and as the kid gets older and older, everybody constantly says, this kid reminds me so much of Styles. And then he says, hey, all right, I'm going to go check into this donor because this is weird and I'm sick of it. And he finds out the donor is really Styles, who needed money for his Jeep. So he made a donation at Sperm Bank, and that Eli Hale is really Styles Solinsky's kid.
Oh my
Where
gosh.
where do
love
I
this
sign
so
my name to
much.
get this rom-com directly into my eyeballs and ear holes?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's perfect because that kid looks like Styles.
He totally does.
Yeah.
He's got
We're a
100%.
he's got a
strongly
cute
pro
little
Steric
upturned
podcast.
nose. I mean, he definitely looks like a Stolinsky. And then when Stolinsky's great dad is named Elias, Elias. I mean, I'm sorry. I can just see Derek, getting this kid at the hospital and not knowing what to do with it. And so Sheriff is there and he's like, John, I need you. What am I going to do? I'm going to terrible dad. Why did I think I could do this? And Sheriff would be like, no, man, we got you. And then Sheriff is the granddaddy to this kid.
Aww.
And it's going to raise him up just like that.
I want
See?
every part of this.
I love it so
in my
much.
soul.
It's so cute.
We got a 3 minute a baby
Yes.
situation here, and it's awesome.
It is.
3 minute a
But-
waffle. So
But also I want to see Chris Argent's grief beard back.
I mean, I don't like
beard.
I don't like Chris hurting. I don't like the turmoil that grips his soul. But that
Mhm.
beard is pretty on point. So could it just be like it looks like the grief beard, but he's actually like I'm in a really good place with myself beard.
Yeah.
It could
It
be an
doesn't sound as
emotional
good.
healing beard.
Oh, I like
It
that.
could be an emotional healing beard.
I like that.
It could be an I'm in love beard. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just like that beard.
There's options. Yeah.
My heart is full of emotion. That emotion doesn't have to be grief. Like other emotions can manifest in facial hair.
Yes.
Okay, writers, seriously, what is with being so mean to these folks? Everybody on this show can't just go through something. They got to go through something and something and something and something.
Mhm.
It's called
Yeah.
drama. Look it up.
I know, but come on now. Come on, let's spread it out. Poor Derek Hale. Could y'all
Right?
do anything more to that poor guy?
Let Derek be happy.
Yes. Derek deserves happiness.
He
Well,
does.
well,
That's so
hopefully
true.
But
Eli.
if that kid, I'm going to tell you right now, if that kid belongs to Kate for some weird reason, we're going to riot. I'm telling you, we're going to riot.
I don't know anything, but I'm fairly confident that is not going to be the case. So
I surely hope that they would not do that. But yeah, that would be the one thing. I can deal with just about anything else, but not that. I just can't.
understandable. Understandable.
And my opinion is what is important for this movie.
Hey,
Mhm.
hey,
Mhm.
I understand. I get it. We're right there with you.
I feel like the last like 2 seconds of the movie is gonna be like you like being like, oh, my mother, you wanna know who she is? She's, and then it cuts to black.
Probably.
There you
Try to
go.
play us
Probably.
like that.
Yes.
Well,
So, well,
where would you like to see the Teen Wolf universe go if it were to continue after the movie?
I'm pretty on board with Eli becoming the new Teen Wolf. I'm okay with that
Oh.
because I feel like, to me, Beacon Hills needs a Hale. It needs a Hale protecting it. And so I'd be okay if he became the like new Teen Wolf and it followed him with what happens in him rebuilding a Hale pack and things like that. I mean, I love anything. Obviously, I love anything that's got the parents involved. I think I'd love to find out more about who's in Icon House.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. I feel like there's just this whole world of opportunity of what could be possibly in Icon House that I think would make a really cool place. So.
Agreed.
Yes, agreed. Hard agree.
Yes. Do you have any fun convention stories that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, which
hopefully
ones
no
are
more with you
saving up for
crying.
this podcast? I mean, obviously there's several that I would never share, but
we can cut anything
the first.
out. So
we have done.
We cut stuff from interviews.
We have gotten some like off the record stories if
Oh my
that
gosh.
is something you're interested in. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. It was funny to me, and it's funny now that my staff thinks it's funny now. But in 2015, so the second event, Tyler Hoechlin had the first photo op in the morning, and he overslept. And I am ridiculously like. My schedule, I don't like it to get off.
Oh, I get
it. When I'm over here like timing the end of the panels at a meet and greet. I'm like, get out, we're done. I'm very much a stickler for my schedule, and he overslept, and it was time for his photo op, and I was like, where is he? And I'm calling the driver, and Joe, who's always been our driver, and he's wonderful. He's like, Betsy, I don't know. I've been waiting out here for like half an hour. I took everybody else over. I don't know where he's at. So I call, and he thought that I was the hotel wake up call. So he hangs up on me. And I call him right back. And he's like, answer the phone. I'm sorry, Betsy. I know. I'm sorry. I couldn't be right there. He's freaking out because he knows that I'm a stickler. And so he's like, I have to take a shower though. I have to, and he goes, and I have to pack my stuff. He goes, can you give me like 5 minutes? I was like, okay, Tyler, but you have to hurry. You're already late. Well, he ends up getting there. And by the time, he gets in the car, he gets there and he gets all his stuff, he's almost 45 minutes late for his post. And they bring him into the back door, and I'm standing in the green room. And all of a sudden he looks over, like he leans in the doorway like this. He makes this face like, I know you're going to kill me. And I looked at him and I was like, you are in huge trouble. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. So I go and take him to his photo ops, and he's like, it's okay, Betsy. I got this. I promise. And bless his heart, because he is a consummate professional. And he got through those photo ops like crazy. He was just shoving them through there. But after it was over with, he's sitting in the green room, and my mama was in there. And my mama's a sweet Southern Georgia girl. And she says, how'd it go when you got here? And he was like, she said, that could have gone worse, right? And he goes, yeah, I'm aware. But bless his heart. I mean, we ended up picking it back up, and we were back to normal after about 2 hours. But yeah, his little face when he first got there that was like, oh God, she's gonna kill me. So that's like that's always a funny story. And then in 2016, during our charity auction, one of the dad of one of the fans, his name is John. Stuff about John's. We call him Con Dad because he's amazing. And he comes every year with his daughter, and that's their bonding, and it's so fun.
Aw.
But he always donates a lot to our charity auction. And he buys us, and he bought a lap dance from JR for and gave it to me for my birthday. And so there's this very funny video of JR giving me a lap dance ballroom for charity. So that's a fun story. And then like not a HowlerCon story, but a DragonCon story. We met Joe Manganiello one year at,
Nice.
and he's wonderful. But we met him back when he was on True Blood. And there were 4 of us, and we're waiting in line for photo ops. And, before COVID, it's always like, what can you get to your photo ops? How fun can you make it? And so we get up there, and I'm 5'5" and a half, and Joe is 6'5". So I walk right up to him, and I'm like this. Straight up. And I said, so there's 4 of us. Can we just all grab a limb? And he looks at me, and he kind of cocks his head, and he goes, sure, why not? So then he goes, how do you want to do this? And he held out his arms. And before he could get do this out of his mouth, my friends Ashley and Melissa had already hit their knees and had him like koala bear grip around each of his tree trunk thighs.
Oh my God.
And he goes, well, all right then. So, held out his arms, and we've all got 4, we've each got a limb. And this picture is the greatest picture ever. He's got this, yeah. And so then when we took it to get the picture to get signed, he wrote on the picture, I got felt up by the Felt Girls, because we were the Felt Beats is what we called Tom Felton's group.
Nice.
And he was like, I got felt up by the Felt Girls.
Nice.
That's
So
an
it was just-
incredible story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When we went to get our photo, every few feet, somebody would say, oh my God, we saw your photo. Oh my God, we saw your photo. It's so good.
Oh, that's so
It's
wonderful.
still one of my favorite photo ops from like the last 15 years. It's one of the best photo ops. It's really funny. But he was such a trooper. And, I think that some of these actors really get it. They understand that just that little bit of effort meant the world to us.
Oh, yeah.
And so the ones that are very accommodating to a certain, the ones that are accommodating and willing to play around with you and have a good time, they are so well loved at these events.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like everybody's there to have fun.
You are, but you're also spending, and I mean, it's our choice to do it, but you're spending an astronomical amount of money to spend 5 seconds with somebody that's on your TV.
Mhm.
And so when they will, play along with you or let you do a fun pose, or just generally make you feel like they appreciate your time and the fact that you came to see them, it goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did JR feel appreciated when he was lap dancing? Is there also like a link to
Yeah.
this?
Did you feel appreciated?
Oh,
That's also the question.
All right. Do you want to hear one more really, really funny story?
Please,
This
yes.
Absolutely.
This might have to be cut.
We send a cut to all of our interviewees
Yeah.
to make sure that they're comfortable with it before it
Yeah.
goes up.
Yeah. If
So
you're, if there's
I'm
anything you
comfortable
wanna
with it.
cut-
just so you know.
Oh, if you're
So,
comfortable with it,
the
then
first-
you've already
Guys,
said the
Most
words.
people- a lot of people know this story. It's actually pretty funny. So the first time that I met JR was at Days of the Wolf in LA in February of 2014.
Mhm.
It was the very, very, very
Oh, where's
first
that
Teen
one?
Wolf Con.
yeah, we worked
all
that
did
one.
there.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah.
So I had VIP tickets, and so all the VIPs, we got like little meet and greets with every one of the guests. And so JR comes in our room, and there's 10 of us around the table. And Have y'all met JR? You know, like he
Oh, yeah.
can't remember names. He can't, his memory is terrible. I love him. He can't remember anything. And he, he's going around the table and he's like, you know, what's your name? And he wants to, he wants to know all of our names and he's repeating it. And then he goes around the table and he asks us where we're from. And then he goes around again and he wants to know what we do for a living. Well, I mean, there's people like my friend Heather, she's a psych nurse. And then there's people that are like, oh, I'm the marketing director of some, you know, Fortune 500 company. And there's all these things. Well, I'm just a little office manager of an electrical contractor. I mean, nothing exciting. I was at the time. And I was like, this is so boring compared to everything that these people are saying. And I'm directly across from him at the table. And when he got to me, he goes, what do you do? And I said, I'm a stripper. And I was like, I'm a stripper. And he went, oh. He was so caught off guard. And he goes, oh my God, are you really? And I was like, no, God, no. And he was like, no. I was like, do I look like a stripper? And he was like, and you know, of course, he's too nice to comment on that. And he said, and he's like, that's hilarious. He goes, what do you really do? And I said, I'm just the office manager. So I didn't think that was very funny. And he goes, you're a stripper now. And so, so he goes around the table and it was this whole big thing about me being a stripper. And we go into directly into the panel. And my friend Heather, who's the psych nurse, she comes up to ask a question. He goes, she's a psycho and she's a stripper from the stage. So Heather's a psycho and I'm a stripper. And so, and he wrote on my autograph, my very first autograph I have of him on the wall, it says, hey, stripper, love JR. And so we have a thing where I always send him something and I'll say stripper loves JR. And so, yeah, so that's our thing from, you know, 8 years ago, 6
That's
years ago,
awesome.
8 years ago, that stripper loves JR.
That's so cute.
But it's the
Yeah.
crazy little things that you remember.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And yet, who got the lap dance from whom?
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
right? See, it was payback. That's why I was like, show me what you can do. There's actually video of that lap dance. It's pretty funny. But he's such a trooper. God love him. I mean, there's not many people who are as charismatic as J.R. Bourne is. He just is. You can't really have a conversation with him without like kind of a little bit falling in love. I feel like he just is that kind of person.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He is.
Really wonderful.
Yep. I think when we interviewed him, I was in a hotel with my family. We were on vacation. And so my sisters are like at an angle so they can't be seen like watching my screen as we're talking to him. And afterwards they were like, he's so hot. And I was like, I mean, yeah, like you guys have watched the show and everything, like, you know who he is. And they were like, yeah, but you know, like it's different seeing someone play a character. And it's another thing just seeing them like talking off the cuff and still being so hot. And I was like, I guess that's true. Like that people are really hot even when they're not like on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they're kind of just relaxed.
Like he still
and sitting in
looks
a
like
chair
that.
answering questions. Yeah, right, exactly. Like he always looks like that. That's how he looks. And yeah, they were taken aback by that. And that was just watching the screen. That wasn't even hearing the interview yet. So
Yeah, he's ridiculous. He's just very charismatic. He he's a very good guy.
Yes, he is.
What have been some of your favorite panels from past cons?
I mean, probably my favorite panel would have to be in 2014, the boys panel. When I think the question was, if you had theme music every time you walked into the room, what would the song be? I think that was the question. And I have this great video of Lyndon and JR singing the Baby Monkey song from YouTube or Vine or whatever it is. But then Orny Adams starts playing Don't Stop Believing. He starts playing the beginning of Journey. And, you know, we're in a post-Glee world, so everybody knows it. And he starts playing it, and the entire ballroom 300 and something people start singing it. And their faces are like, what is happening? And JR's recording from the stage, and Orny's just playing it. And we sang like 3 verses right there, the whole
Oh,
ballroom.
wow.
And so that kind of became the defining moment for Howler. I mean, we still like Don't Stop Believing is our theme song, everything we do. We do it for karaoke every year at our cons. And so that would probably be, I would think, the most defining moment for us. Was the Don't Stop Believing Journey moment. I mean, I did have to pay royalties to ASCAP for use of the song. So I really wanted to kill Orny because we didn't have any money.
Oh,
But it made a really awesome moment. And I mean, thank you to Orny for doing that because it's kind of been our thing ever since. But that's probably the biggest moment. But then there's also, I mean, in 2017, the last panel that we had with the whole group, because the show had wrapped, there was no future in sight. It was our last Howler. We weren't planning to do any more. And so that last panel was really poignant. Everybody was emotional and just very excited. We just raised over 30 grand for charity. And
wow.
so, I mean, it was a really, really awesome panel, that one. So that one meant a lot to me, I think. But probably the most meaningful ones, or the ones that most people would remember, are every time these boys have a panel together, it deteriorates into just smut and nastiness. It starts off so good, and then all of a sudden it just hits the gutter as fast as possible.
I think we'll fit in pretty well with that, because so do the episodes of our podcast.
Yep.
I mean, I legitimately have to get up at the beginning of the boys panel and say, this is a disclaimer that what you were about to hear is probably going to be X-rated. I mean, I have to give a disclaimer. Yeah. I'm like, if you're a child, you're here at your own risk. I mean, get up and leave if you need to. I mean, because it just straight into the gutter every time. And I'm like, Betsy, why do you keep scheduling these things? Oh my God. I mean, we've turned into Who's Your Favorite? We've had them turn Who's Your Favorite Disney Princess into which one you want to fuck. And I'm like, oh yeah. God, y'all.
Like, is there any question we could ask that won't become fuck, marry, kill?
Yeah.
Is there? I don't know.
It truly is. The boys are just, it's just the way it is. But I would say that most Howler fans live for the boys panel because they know that it's going to go off the rails.
Nice.
So I guess,
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. You will have to make sure you set aside that time in June.
Oh, absolutely.
Sit in on that panel. There's also this year, we always have an exclusive panel that's just for like our higher tier tickets. And this year it's JR and Ian Bowen. So Lord knows that one's going to go off the rails too.
Nice. Very
That's
nice.
super fun.
Well, speaking of, what else should fans get excited for this HowlerCon?
I mean, the fact that it's happening and we get to have it.
Yes, that is quite good.
I mean, seriously, I think that everybody's just ready to be together again and excited that we get to be in one place and that we actually get to have this. But the charity auctions are always a lot of fun. They always, they just raise a lot of money. It's really cool to see how much things sell for. But I think that I think they're also fun because you're doing something good and you realize that everything yes, it's exciting how much money something goes for. But I mean, we sold bobbleheads at the last con of each character. I had bobbleheads made of all of them that went for like over $1,000, like $1,200, $1,300 a piece. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean, it was really crazy. But I mean, I think that people are excited about your podcast. Um,
Oh,
because that's very new for us. And then we just announced that Ian Nelson's going to play a little mini concert before our Saturday night
Nice.
Oh,
party.
cute.
Very
I love that.
nice.
I shouldn't say
Yeah.
cute.
So I know, like, I'm like, can we call him Baby Derek anymore? Because
I know. It's like I should not be saying it that way anymore, but I'm like, I mean, I'm in my 30s now. It just comes out.
I get it. I mean, like, he's perpetually this teenager. But I'm like, yeah, when people see him and they realize he's 26 and he's no longer that teenager, yeah, we're gonna be okay. But yeah, he asked me about it, and we've worked it out where he can play a little short set on Saturday night. So
That's
Cool.
awesome.
I'm
That is so
excited that we're gonna
fun.
get to
really,
hear him
really
play.
cool.
That'll be fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, and there's a photo booth on Friday night. That's always fun. And
Nice.
karaoke.
Fantastic.
So I mean, we like to. I mean, I hope everyone has a really good time. I feel like after 2 years of a pandemic, that we need to have a good time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So,
I miss
definitely.
conventions so very much. It's been
Yeah,
so long since I've
me
been to
too.
one.
me too. And I'm so ready to get this one done.
I bet. Yeah.
It has just been a night. I mean, truly, it's been such a nightmare to have to postpone it twice. And then I'm like, it has to happen this year. And, long about mid February, I was like, this is going to happen. Holy crap, this is really going to happen. And so, thankfully, we've just been kind of in overdrive mode since then. But yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
So this is the final HowlerCon. I know a lot of work has gone into it. Do you think you have any other conventions in your future?
Well, I've been promising Tom Felton for years that I would have a DracoCon.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So probably that one will probably happen sooner rather than later. It working around his crazy schedule will be where that one will be interesting. But that one will probably certainly happen. And then, I mean, I would love, love, love to have like a Fam of Steel, Superman, Supergirl, Superman and Lois, Supergirl
Ah,
convention. I love this. I love the show. I think Tyler Hackman's doing an amazing job.
Yes.
absolutely.
But Bitsy and Alex and Jordan are just that whole cast. I feel like seems like they'd be a lot of fun at
Mhm.
at a convention. And the show's doing so well.
Mhm.
And so I would love to do that, but but then when that thought pops in my head or I speak it aloud, all of my friends are like, "Oh,
Not again.
Oh,
they're like,
Chloe,
no, Betsy,
no."
no, stop." Do I need to remind you? So I don't know. Yes, probably the DracoCon one, but I don't know about anything else. I mean, I'd love to. Like I said, I love doing them. The planning and organization part of it, as crazy and mad as it is, it's my favorite part. I love the moving parts and making sure probably my absolute favorite part of any of it is trying to arrange the schedule for the weekend. I One of the things that I hated the most, or I won't say I hated the most, one of the things that I disliked at conventions is that I had to pick and choose where I went.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't do everything because the schedule overlaps. And in a big convention, you can't. There's nothing you can do about that. It just is what it is. But for a small one like ours, any one fan can do every single solitary thing at our convention.
Nice.
And I work the schedule. I mean, it's fast and you have to really know what you have to know where you're going every day and every minute, but it's doable. And because I didn't like that, I hated like, oh, I can't go to this panel because I want to have this photo op, or,
Mhm.
I can't do this meet and greet because it's at the same time as this panel I wanted to see. And so I try very hard to make sure our schedule allows any one person to do everything.
Nice.
But getting moving parts for like this year, we have 9 guests and they've got photo ops both days, and we've got 6 panels. I think there's 6 panels over the weekend, and you know, 10 meet and greets, and I mean, it's a lot of moving parts and getting everything into this schedule to make sure that you can do everything. But it's my favorite part.
That's great. That's great.
If you could keep us updated about DracoCon, my sister, I can already like feel her losing her mind about her ears might be burning right now. It's possible. She's gonna lose her shit. And I am excited to be the one to tell her that this is something that is probably on the horizon. So yes, please.
Nailing down Tom Felton will be the key there, because
Okay.
he is constantly got his fingers in something, and so he nailing him down. But yeah, and Jason Isaacs, who I love, like he's way up there with J.R. Bourne for me. Jason Isaac has already told me before that he would be there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Nice.
So,
He seems like a super cool guy.
Yeah, he does.
He's amazing. He really is. He's very intense, like JR is, in the fact that like he wants to touch you when he's talking to you, and he looks directly in your face, and you're like, oh my god.
You're immediately hypnotized.
Yes,
he's gonna put a journal
so.
in your cauldron, and then your things are gonna start happening. And yeah.
He is, and I love that he and Tom have that like really good. They have a really great father-son relationship still, which is always fun. But yeah, I'd say so. Will, we actually met years ago.
When?
During the writing of the last season, I visited set with Melissa and Lyndon.
Okay.
And because I met you and the other Will, and you were the brothers Wallace. No, the other Wallace, Eric. And you were the brothers Wallace. And that's what I've always remembered. I was like, I know him. He's the brothers Wallace. But yeah, so yeah, I got to go in the writers' room and meet you guys during the filming of the last of 6B.
Oh
so yeah.
Gosh. Don't be offended that he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember yesterday. So
I memento a lot. Also, I've said on the podcast before with other guests and stuff that it all blends together into one just weird nebulous day of working on Teen Wolf, and it's hard to really pick out a lot of things just because you're just like, oh, that happened. Oh, we must have like been killing ourselves trying to figure something out or write a script or something, and it's like, oh, okay, I believe you.
Yeah. Oh no!
Well, I hope we treated you well. I hope we were kind and all that. So yeah, the writers' room was the best room to be in on that show. Such a good.
It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I went 2 days. One day they were filming off in the woods somewhere. And so I got to go in the writers' room, and I got to go in with the editors.
Nice.
And see some of that. That was really cool. And then, wardrobe, which I think is really cool to see all that. And
wardrobe.
Yeah. And then the next time I went in, I got to actually watch some filming, and I stayed for a few hours to watch one scene. I was there for, I think, 3 hours, 3.5, and I watched one scene being filmed, but it was really cool. So now when I watch the show, and I get to that scene, I'm like, oh, I got to watch that. So
which scene was it?
So that part was really cool. It's in the sheriff station when the deputy when she shoots herself in 6B.
Oh yeah.
When Moreau and Gerard are outside.
They're all outside. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that scene where she shoots herself.
Oh wow.
And so that was, yeah, it was pretty wild. But yeah, so it's, I feel like that this show, and Harry Potter did too, but this show, it's brought so many really amazing people in my life that I would never have known if it wasn't for this show. And, and so much of my life has happened because of Teen Wolf. I mean, like all these conventions would have never happened had I not watched the show
Right.
and, and met some of the people and so many of the fans and that we've been able to meet. And, Amy and I are fans ourselves. And so that's why we wanted to make this convention. But the number of people that have come to us at our events and, told us that how much the conventions mean to them and how much that, we've had people say that HowlerCon was the only thing that kept them going, that they were the only, that knowing that they had this event to go to was what kept them alive. And that's a lot to one, know that it's a great heartwarming feeling to know that you are a small part of that for this person, but it's also a little scary. And, it's a little scary knowing that something that you have done has this much influence on someone. And and so we've always tried to kind of live up to that. We want to be, we want to put on a good event, we want to make it relatively affordable. And we want to again make it safe for anybody to be able to come and be who they are without fear, because I feel like there's so many of the Teen Wolf fans, and especially the HowlerCon fans, that kind of live in a bit of that fear and anxiety in their normal lives, that if we can take that away from them and give them some happiness for for a few days, we really see it as our HowlerCon fam. It's our family. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, even though we had said no more, we were done, that we decided to do the reunion, because we missed seeing the family too.
Yeah.
And so that part's really awesome. And I think I'm glad that you guys are going to get to see it. I'm glad that y'all are going to be there and kind of get to see with all of the fans and how kind of laid back and easygoing and fun it is. So
Yeah. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Too. Yeah.
And to document it. you
Yeah.
know.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
yes, very much so. I'm excited. It's going to be great.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's really beautiful what you've said about it. And I before Teen Wolf, I was really involved in the Buffy fandom and then Supernatural, and I met a lot of friends I've had for years through Supernatural conventions. And yeah, it felt like a family. It's really amazing.
It's kind of wild, this whole internet thing. I feel like fandoms were so different before, but there's so much more that you can. When you talk about the friends that you have that are, you wouldn't have even known if it wasn't for the internet, and being able to get online with them, and I especially think about ones that the people that I met online that are have made significant, meaningful impact to me, that are, the closest of friends, that I think about, what would have happened if I hadn't watched that show? Or, what would have happened if I hadn't have gone to that movie 20 years ago? It's just kind of odd, I feel like, when you start thinking about logistics of it, of, wow, how much that you can be impacted by something so small.
Absolutely. We wouldn't know Will if it wasn't for us volunteering at that Teen Wolf convention.
Yeah.
There you go.
LA.
Yeah.
So,
That was a good convention.
Yeah, ByCon was great. ByCon was
yeah, we
great.
did Days of the Wolf and ByCon.
Oh,
was
you did ByCon too? Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We were poor living in LA, and so we couldn't afford to go to them, so we had to volunteer to work them. And we met.
Well, and we couldn't find jobs, so it was like, we need to do something to be around people and have something to do, and hopefully network and things. And we got a best friendship that has lasted going on 8 years?
Past 8 years,
now?
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, at that Days of the Wolf Con, I spent so much money, and way more than I intended to spend. And then when they auctioned off a script, and after I'd already said, don't let me spend any more money, I spent an astronomical amount of money script. But that script, it's signed by everybody that was at that con.
Wow.
So it's got
Fantastic.
Posey and Hecklin and Crystal and Holland and Melissa and Lyndon
Awesome.
and who else has it got? JR and I don't know, a couple of others, but it's the episode in 3B where Styles has to do the MRI
Mhm.
to
Oh,
find out
yeah.
that he's got the frontotemporal whatever
Yeah.
dysplasia stuff that his
Yeah.
mom had, and so, which is one of my favorite episodes. And I was like,
It's a great one.
yeah, I mean, like the only thing that could have made it better was if it possibly would have been the Divine Move, which is my favorite episode.
Oh my god.
But
so good.
but I was like, oh my god, it's 3B, which is my favorite season, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
Oh yeah,
but it's exciting, and so it's kind of one of my little prized possessions over here.
that's awesome.
So,
Aw,
That is
but,
awesome.
yeah,
That is
That's
fantastic.
so cool.
but
We're about to move into
Yeah.
3B and we're very excited
Yes.
for our week watch of it.
Our
It's our
favorite
it's
season.
so good.
Yeah.
Like it's just so good. It's well written, and it is just. I mean, Dylan is just ridiculous as Void Styles. I just can't. He's so good. But there's just so many emotions and everything in that season that I just love. And then the Oni,
Mhm.
they're in. I love the Oni. There's a running joke with my staff that when people ask if I'm going to invite somebody and have somebody for Howler, I'm always like, no, we're only going to have Oni number 3. And so ever since the very first season, Oni number 3 has been like that's our unicorn guest. If I ever get
Nice.
Oni number 3, I'm done.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
I know who Oni number 3 was, but if I could find out, I would absolutely invite them.
Who was it that we talked to, Will, who was like, oh, I got to play an Oni?
David Elson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could
David
have been David Elson.
Could have been David Elson.
I
Yeah.
don't know which one Oni was.
Yep.
Should we give him a call?
Yeah. We'll give him a
we
call.
should. They she sends me there's a picture of the 3 of them in a row, and they're like 1, 2, 3 every time. And I'm like, well, listen, find out who was in this costume right here.
That's hilarious.
That is
So,
fantastic.
yeah, it's such a good season, and yeah,
Best one.
I mean, yeah, I agree. So, but
It's good.
yeah,
It's good. Well, Betsy, this has been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to
Yes.
you about something we all love, and then to talk about this event that you're throwing that's like this miracle thing that's going to happen
is.
in New Jersey in a couple of months, and it's just fantastic. It's absolutely
yay!
fantastic.
Thank you
We
for
can't
having me.
We
Yeah,
can't
we're
wait.
We
so
are
excited.
very excited to have y'all at the event. We've only got a very limited amount of tickets left for the weekend, and for Saturday, Sunday only. So yeah, if anybody wants to buy tickets, they better buy them soon because we're running out.
Gotcha.
Good to know.
Good
but
to know.
we're very excited that y'all are going to be there, and this is going to be something really cool that we can bring to the people who attend. And so I think they're going to love it, and I hope y'all are going to enjoy it. I think you'll really have a good time. It's a
We're
good time.
so excited.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
fantastic. It's just incredible you asked us to headline this convention. Also, I think there are gonna be some actors there. Is that right?
Yeah,
You got some.
yeah,
Okay, that's
but
cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. So no. I'm gonna be like taking pictures of all the actors. Like, oh my god, I know these people. Why am I acting like this?
know them.
It's like I've worked with them. Get out of the
I
way.
know him from work.
I know him from work.
Do like that
From
Thor gif, like I know him from work.
Yeah. So, it's good.
Oh my gosh.
But thank you so much, Betsy. We are very excited for everyone to
Yes.
hear you talk about this, and for to meet all these wonderful fans at the convention in June. And it's just going to be absolutely wonderful to meet you in person, although you're going to be so crazy and all this. And
Yeah, we won't.
but-
We'll be careful not to take up too much of,
yeah, no,
of
no,
your
no.
time. We're gonna be low
No, no, no.
maintenance.
Yeah, in case we don't want to be like taking up all of your time, and then you hear like Tyler's overslept again or something like that. You gotta put the hammer down on Mr. Hecklin. So yeah.
Oh
So-
my gosh. Yeah, he's great. He really is great.
Yes,
But-
absolutely.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited. And especially because for us, Gage is a new guest we've
Mhm.
never had before. Colton is a
Mhm.
new guest we've never had before, and so is Ian Nelson. So we're really happy that we're going to get some new people in that we
It's
haven't
gonna be
met.
great.
Yeah, I'm excited. I
It's gonna
think
be
it'll be great.
absolutely yes. No, it's gonna be
It's
absolutely
super
wonderful,
cool.
and we
Yeah.
can't wait. June can't get here fast enough. So,
Yay!
all
Wait,
righty.
can I get here just a little bit because I have a lot. of stuff to
Okay.
do.
Yes. Right. Yes. 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 We'll pump the brakes just a little bit, but
just a
um,
little bit.
awesome. Well, thank you for getting on this call with us and talking about Teen Wolf and the
Yes,
convention.
thank you so much.
We really appreciate it. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we'll talk soon. And we're going to see you pretty soon. So it's going to be
Yeah.
great.
Sounds great. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
too.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.